And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two Schmoes Show, the greatest podcast as voted by you, the people. If you did not get in on that vote, that's your problem. We're taking the title. Feels really good, doesn't it, Kyril?
Yeah, you snooze, you lose.
Snooze, you lose, you goddamn losers. Let me pull up a list here real quick. Popular podcast. Do you listen to podcasts, Kyril?
I have, this is going to sound kind of dumb. I've debated that because I objectively do listen to things that are podcasts, but I don't think of it as listening to podcasts, if that makes sense.
So I looked up the list of the most popular podcasts, and I'd like to go over them with you because, quite frankly, I think podcasting has been eroded a little bit. We kind of live in a point where it's all fake and plastic and bullshit. It's something I actually really admire about our show is we do try to be our authentic selves to some degree. I'm probably a little bit more annoying here than I am in real life. I cry more in real life. So, starting off the list, we have Big JR himself, Joe Hogan, the Joe Hogan Experience. Did I ever tell you I had a small Joe Rogan phase?
No, but if it's around the time that I'd imagine, it's not too surprising.
Yeah, but it was a little bit before the pandemic. Before like shit went batshit.
Yeah, I think that's not unreasonable.
Yeah. I think what really killed Joe Rogan for me was the fucking horse tranquilizer. Not tranquilizer. It'd been funny if he was on a horse tranquilizer. Oh well. Crime junkies. You ever want to do a true crime podcast?
Not really.
You missed the joke. We're already on one. Look at the government.
That's true, aren't we?
Yeah. This is silly. This is fucking bullshit. I've never actually listened to Crime Junkies. Do you know anything about it? I've
never even heard of it.
I know of it very vaguely just because my mother is super into true crime. I myself, I don't know. I have like an on again, off again affair with the genre. What about you?
Yeah. I really struggle to understand it because there's so much awful stuff happening every day to more than keep my attention filled. I don't need old bad stuff as well.
That's fair. I think my biggest problem with true crime as a genre is that it doesn't feel journalistic integrity, like it journalistic in its integrity, because quite frankly, a lot of these people try to stay out the story, which is fine.
Yep.
But there's ways as a journalist to like insert into the story without being in the story. And it kind of feels like you're just profiting off public information about people's misery.
Completely agree, and that is a large part of where my frustration comes from. It's like I'm sure that there are some people out there who are doing, regular series podcast formats where they are doing legitimate journalism in that space. But my understanding of it is that the majority of the popular stuff is relatively regurgitated or kind of borders on the conspiratorial.
Yeah, I think what kills me is like, do you know what shoveling is?
No, not by just that.
Shoveling is a practice in journalism in which one goes and takes other people's information and, as you say, regurgitate it into their own sourceless piece. So, like, say I'm a true crime podcast person, right? And I take a little bit of Crime Junkies, I take a little bit of some other smaller podcasts, and then I take another of like some other podcasts and a police filing, and I call it my research, and then I do my own podcast on that. That's shoveling. Like you're shoveling everything to a pile and calling it your own.
Interesting. Makes sense.
Yeah. The Daily, a top news podcast from the New York Times. I respect the Times. Yeah.
I have struggled to lately. They've made a handful of very like high level editorial decisions that I find especially frustrating.
I'll agree with that. I think my respect from the Times comes purely off the name and the legacy, rather than
There's definitely an element of that.
Yeah.
What was it? I think I talked about this when it happened, but I recently watched All the President's Men for the first time. And at the end of it, I was struck with this thought of like, man, wouldn't it be incredible if there was like a high profile, well-funded newspaper that was doing this kind of stuff today? And then I was hit and turned with just like, wait a minute, the New York Times still exists.
Yeah.
This company is still here. They're just not in this same role anymore. They're so much more complacent. Maybe that's the word for it. And I feel like they've lost a lot of what defined them, what made them that legacy news source.
Yeah, no, I think my biggest problem is like journalism isn't acting as like when the estates to guard the public anymore. Everything in journalism that's put effort into always has a degree of separation from the people that it's targeted to. So, like you said, that complacency, very real factor. But at the same time, I do respect the journalistic fear of saying something people don't want to hear. And now that social media is very much a thing, getting stalked and whatnot, honestly, and this is my honest God opinion, I really wish employers like the New York Times would take more time to like make security for their journalists and to put money towards making sure their journalists are kept safe, or maybe even have an anonymity, anonymous posting for stories. But
make a lot of sense. The thing that really struck me, and the thought that stuck with me, was how if we had, this exact thing, Watergate with Woodward and Bernstein, today, I wouldn't expect that story to break in the Times or the Washington Post or on cable news. I'd more likely expect it to come from like People or what was the one? It was the Teen Vogue. Or like some random, relatively small, independent news outlet that's doing like specialist work. That's where a lot of the stuff is coming from. Your 404 medias and that kind of thing.
I like that. Up next, after the daily, we have Call Her Daddy. Do you know about Call Her Daddy?
No.
I did not know about this one either. So I had to look it up. It's a comedy podcast. The most listened to podcast by women. Alex Cooper's Call Her Daddy has been creating conversations in 2018, genre specific to human sexuality, sexual relationships, interviews, and the culture of New York City, with 550 goddamn episodes. Jesus.
I'm curious, does it talk about what the viewership for each of these is?
Not really, no.
I'd be really fascinated to know that. There was,
I will say, this is a conglomerate of like chart data from like Apple and Spotify.
Okay. I don't remember exact details of it, but there's one of the sort of podcasts that I do watch. I guess I watch because I watch it on YouTube. Was talking about how they stack up on like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or something like that. And they weren't like particularly at the top, but they were pointing out how fast it drops off.
I'm sure. Like the thing is, I think the podcasting audience is a little homogenized at points, and that they definitely go to the same feeder for their content.
I remember now. It was in relation to not Erica Kirk, but one of the wives or girlfriends of a current Trump administration cabinet member had started her own podcast thing that, what do you know, just coincidentally happened to exclusively be about interviewing people within the Trump administration. What do you know? And it was very obvious softball, explicit propaganda kind of stuff. They're not trying to hide it, but it's all slickly produced. They've got a lot of money going into this, very obviously. And they were commenting on it because I don't remember if it was on Apple or on Spotify, it had something like 25 views total.
That is so fucking funny.
Yeah, and that's when they started to look into more of this, and it was just like, hey, that's the case with a lot of these. What the hell?
I'm sure you could pay money to bot your way into a chart.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure people do.
Yeah. Looking at you,
I know
Joe.
it's relatively common on like Twitch.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Do you know about those Twitch live stream farms?
Live stream farms? Not by that, no.
Okay, so I might be referring to them to a different name, but I just heard this interesting story about people who AI generate live streams, and then they have bots watch the live streams to make it look like something interesting has happened. So, like, people watch these AI streams, and their hope is to just kind of get somebody on it without realizing they're on it, because they're very quiet streams, or like very natural sounds. Like, one's like, say you have a guy fishing, so they're hoping someone gets enticed by those sounds and just stays on their stream and just keeps coming back just for those relaxing sounds, or like the vibes of it, or something like that. It's really fucking weird.
It's very weird.
Yeah. After Call Me Her Daddy, we have Smartless, a comedy interview podcast with Jason Bateman, Sean Hayes, and Will Arnett. I only know 2 of those. I won't say who they are, but I know 2 of them.
I know 2 of them as well. I think, let me actually check this. I think I've heard of this one in like the funniest way possible. But I got to double check this. So, but I am really curious. No, I don't want that one. Take me to the main website. Where is... I'm pretty sure this was the Grammys, where they had... Oh, maybe it wasn't the Grammys. Where they had a podcast award.
Really?
Yeah. Full winners and nominees. No, that was there it just was. Maybe it wasn't the Grammys. It's going to bug me. One of the award shows we covered earlier this year had a specific category carved out for the top podcasts of 2025. And I'm pretty sure this one was one of those.
Huh. That would make sense. I think comedy as a podcast format is very dangerous but high reward. It is hard to be funny constantly. I think you need a lot of good writers and producers. Hot take. I think the next evolution of late night TV will be a late night podcast. I only say that because Conan O'Brien's doing it, and if Conan O'Brien's doing it, it's some form of late night.
I've seen a really interesting perspective on it from Linus Tech Tips, of all people, where he has been on, I want to say Jimmy Kimmel twice now, doing a sort of like post-event roundup of the Consumer Entertainment Expo, or Consumer Electronics Expo convention thing. Okay. Where he'll pick out like 2 or 3 things from the convention and bring that on for Kimmel and whoever the guest is to check out and take a look at. And it's fascinating because he has a podcast, Linus does, The WAN Show, that regularly gets like, well, let's just check what the last one did, right? Hundreds of thousands of views at the very least, though. And he has talked about how even though on like just a raw scale, so they had their episode was on Friday and it already has 258,000 views for a perspective on the ratio. It's very large, right? And it's just YouTube. So he's talked about how relative to these cable programs, he's getting probably relatively the same viewership numbers, you know, within like a factor of 10 for sure. Yet the experience of the late night talk show, the culture that's around it, the people who specifically work on it to do that as their careers is just so different, though. It's like going from theater cinema to made-for-TV movies, where they're both movies, they're both about 2 hours long. Both of them can be really good, but the people who are working on the made-for-TV movie have honed their skill sets in a way that's different than those same counterparts working in the big C cinema.
I could see that.
It's an interesting perspective. I don't know if I really agree, if I fully agree with it. I could totally see some sort of a podcast format going more mainstream, or rather not even a podcast format going mainstream, but mainstream cable programs adopting that less formal, more impulsive, casual environment for their programs in certain capacities, right?
Do you remember when G4 tried coming back?
Vaguely. I don't actually think I ever saw anything when they did, but I remember it happened.
Yeah, so they tried doing something that was like combining live streaming with live television, and it kind of worked, kind of did not. I thought like the format could work. Their hosts were just not good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where they had a lot more audience participation, which I think that's something TV can't fully do, but they should try looking into some means of that. Like American Idol. American Idol's popular for a reason. People interacted with that.
Absolutely. I do wonder, though, because American Idol and a lot of those shows of the time that took the same format haven't stuck around.
No.
They aren't around today. And I wonder if that is because social media has so thoroughly eroded those barriers that were being artificially reached through in those sorts of programs, that what people are seeking out instead are things like, you know, The Voice or The Masked Singer, to name the literal two of those shows that I know still exist, that put those barriers back up in very explicit ways where you, the viewer, might be able to do a vote at some point, but the vast majority of it is interactions with celebrities and the people who are doing the performances.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think that is part of their, I don't want to say appeal, but it's a part of their marketing / brand strategy.
Yeah. There's something to that, to having that separation from yourself and the thing that is happening, that people prefer.
Yeah, totally.
And that's just true.
Yeah. I think that's because people want that fantasy to it, you know? They don't want to know this is fucking real. They don't want to know people have jobs here. This is fucking like, I don't fucking know. This is I don't know. I've lost the word. This is what dyslexia does to a man.
It's counterintuitive, though, right? Because we've seen this strong push in a very, you know, not very, relatively organic way, as people have, as individuals, fully committed themselves to social medias and their social media of choice, right?
Yeah.
Facebook has something like half of the population of the world with an account on it. And I don't know. It's almost like that has become so normalized, that mass of information, that mass of communication and connection, that getting rid of it is the appeal, I guess. Maybe that's why something like Rogan's podcast is as appealing as it is, because even though it is of the podcast format, it still very much has those same barriers up. If you're a random person, you might know a lot of something. You might even know more than the person they're having on the show, but you're not of that level of celebrity, at least at this point, to make the cut.
You're absolutely right about that. Because, like, I'm trying to think, like, this is the fucked up thing about screens, right? Because, like, these are very much a one-way communication devices.
Yeah.
But we've gotten so good at creating environments around them that you kind of forget that at some points. Where the fuck were we? Oh yeah, popular podcast.
Popular podcast. Who we got? What are we at? Number 6 now?
Number 6, yeah, smart list. I'm just going to blare through a couple of these because I don't know these. The past weekend with Theo Vaughn. Who the fuck is Theo Vaughn?
I think, let me double check this before I slander. I know the name, and I'm trying to remember where I know the name.
I'm looking at a picture of him, and he looks like if the word bro country had a face.
Oh, you know what I was going to say? I was going to say Mark Wahlberg, but his career failed after he beat up that Vietnamese guy.
That's so fucking funny. Theo, please come onto the podcast. We would love to have you on.
Okay. This is not the person who I was thinking of. Must have been just a different online personality with a similar-ish name. But I've definitely heard Theo Vaughn's name before in a, I'll just say, less than positive connection. But I can't confirm what that was, so I'm not going to go any more than that. But I know there was something, some controversies that were going around. It was just like, oh yeah, that seems kind of shitty.
He looks like listens to Morgan Wallen, and then he goes and listens to like fucking Alien Ant Farm afterwards. He's in this weird like half 2000s nostalgia, half here and now. The Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. Why do CEOs think they're so fucking interesting?
I think that's a question that'll really define our current era.
Yeah.
You can kind of expand it to like turn it the other way around, right? Why are CEOs so desperate to seem like they're interesting? Because that, I think, is the real question.
Kyril, do you want me to give you the real answer?
I mean, yes, but
it's because capitalism is inherently meaningless.
Man, I don't know. I have so many thoughts on this. It's because, yes, that is absolutely true. But I do wonder, like, the mindset, right? That gets to that point, you know. Elon Musk is very much the prototypical one of this, right? The man who has everything, who wants for nothing, and is so miserable all the time.
What are you talking about? He's all memeing. He's putting on a good smile everywhere he goes.
It is, if nothing else, very funny that we've had so many proverbs like shown to us so explicitly these last few years of like, you know, the rich man, poor man kind of stuff. It's
the fucking camel and needle shit.
Yeah, I guess that works for it too. It's a very old thing, right?
Yeah.
Getting rich doesn't make you happy. Being poor doesn't make you sad. The Bible does the rich man can't fit through the eye of a needle any more than a camel. But it's a very common theme throughout history as people observe society around them. It felt like for a while though, as the people in positions of power became more abstracted from the people they exerted their power on, I think we lost sight of that message because of those layers of intentional abstraction, those layers of separation from the executive classes to the people who worked for the executive classes. And as social media has become a thing, those layers have been eroded, and we can see both ways now. We can see that these people are miserable, even though they have ungodly amounts of money. And at the same time, they still know they have ungodly amounts of money and something compels them to do that regardless, even though they seem on some level to know that it's not bringing them satisfaction.
It is a lack of self-awareness, I think.
Yeah. I guess that's why they do all the drugs, right?
Oh, totally. There's this funny thing I saw the other day. You know, like the CEO book list type thing?
I'm not quite sure what you mean.
So there's like a must-read book list CEOs always go by, right?
Okay.
And the joke I've always seen is you can look up their book list, and none of those are good books. They're books that have that sound powerful, but
right.
no one who's like an actual reader would ever read those.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a whole grift in itself, right?
Oh, totally. Have you ever heard books as business cards?
No, but I can very much imagine what that entails, and that makes a lot of sense.
So, for everybody now on the podcast, I'm going to open up with a little bit of the corporate world that I fucking live in and I hate. Actually, don't kind of hate my corporate world because I think I actually have a pretty nice company, but books as business cards is a practice where people, instead of like giving you your business card, if you have a good working relationship between people, you give them either a book you endorse and then you write a little message in there so they think of you whenever they apply the tactics in that book, if they so choose to read it. Or two, and this is going to make a lot of sense when you go to fucking Barnes & Noble or wherever you go get your books and you see the huge angry ass business sections.
Yep.
They'll give them a book they wrote or they had an AI write for them.
That was the one that I was thinking.
Yeah. That is a power move.
I know that one because in the past, it wouldn't even be that they wrote. It would be have someone ghostwrite my autobiography.
Exactly.
And the autobiography is always how I became unbelievably wealthy and how you can too.
You're right, though. Like, have you ever, like, actually tried reading a business book?
No.
So, at work, they have us, like, a little audio book service where we can listen to those if we so choose to.
Good use of money. Good use of money.
Isn't it? Okay, it came pre-packaged with a more important software, so I don't get upset about it. It's a training software, but like if you so choose to do extra stuff, you can get into these audiobooks.
Sure, I suppose so.
But business books as a genre seem to have the same format every fucking time, and it kind of impresses me to no extent. Care to guess what the format is as I've just deduced?
Hit me.
Okay. They come in two flavors, right? It's either the less than 10 steps to success format, or it's the vague allegory about business format. Now, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that's a vague allegory towards business. The 7 steps of highly successful people, that's a less than 10 steps. And they always seem to follow that. And from what I understand, based off what I've seen, the 7 and the less than 10 steps, that's usually in some way, shape, or form just a list of life lessons, and it's really boring because you only need like 10 sentences out of the book. But the vague allegories about business always, to me, strike me as they're trying to rip off The Art of War, which is kind of funny.
I was just going to say that. I was actually just going to bring up The Art of War and how funny it is that, you know, thousands of years apart, the vast majority of the actually good lessons is the stuff like make sure your soldiers are well fed and well rested so that they do better.
Yeah.
Like the kind of shit that these assholes in position of power actually need to understand, but then they always just take away the empty platitudes about whatever, the things that don't actually matter, compared to making sure that your people are actually feeling satisfied in their life so that they don't revolt and kill you with the weapons you're giving them.
Have you read The Art of War?
I have not, but that was one that I would put on my short list.
It's good. It's a good afternoon read. I read it in like 2 sittings.
Yeah. It's not a particularly big one, is it?
No, like, in fact, you can actually just read it online because you can fit everything as a text file.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And even
that's
then, I'm going to read you a quick one because this one's always so funny to me. Can you explain how this applies to business, Kyril? Of old, the rise of the Yin dynasty was due to Ai Xin, who had served under the and I apologize if I fuck these up. Hesia. Likewise, the rise of the Chao dynasty was due to Liu Ye, who had served under the Yin. How does that apply?
Thinking. I can imagine some sort of like, empty platitudes about segmentation of leadership or whatever, or predecessors dictating future outcomes kind of thing, but I don't actually know.
So that's actually a little stanza about the use of spies. Which,
okay.
Again, I don't think spies are exactly legal in modern business.
That's probably a whole question in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it?
Like, insider trading is, of course, illegal.
We are like minds, because I was about to go with that.
As long as you're not trading, who's to say?
Who's to say? If I just happen to give money to my good friend and tell him about that information so they can make a very sound investment, and they promise to give me a cut of that sound investment, what can I do?
There was an idea, I think I mentioned before, about how in the age of, more governments being more openly corrupt than ever, how in capitalism, eventually the best way to make sure that your shareholders get the best returns on their investments is to make the biggest bribe.
That's good.
I think there's an element of that same thought process that goes into that. And when you're in the world of there is no limits, or there is no way to enforce any limits in a meaningful way, whoever has the best spies, whoever gets the best information from their competitors, is the one who's going to be more successful, even if you're making a worse product.
Yeah. That's kind of like how all Silicon Valley goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. This is a current events podcast. We've just been making fun of other podcasts. You want to get to the actual news?
No, but we probably should.
It's all Iran.
We're in
Iran season.
As a treat, let's do one more.
Okay.
Next on the list.
Next on the list?
Yeah, let's do one more. Let's see what happens.
Okay, actually, we have 3 more. Do you want to just tackle all 3 at once? Yeah.
Let's finish it out.
Stuff You Should Know, a popular education podcast covering a wide array of topics. Up first by NPR, an armchair expert with Dax Shepard. Now, I bring this up because this seems like 3 of like the same style.
Yeah. Those all seem very reasonable.
Yeah. You know what? I'll say it. I think NPR is this country's most powerful cultural export.
I tend to agree.
Yeah. And y'all are probably thinking, oh, he's woke, he's liberal, he's just talking about like all that. Do y'all know how far NPR goes? NPR does way more than just the fucking journalistic stuff that makes you scared.
They do Wait, Don't Tell Me too.
What's that?
They do Wait, Don't Tell Me too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, but like NPR does a lot for the fucking arts and culture. Like,
they
fuck
really do.
You if you don't know that.
On the other hand, though, at least, I'm not going to speak for you, but I am definitely woke. And I would never take that as an insult, so.
You see, I don't know how I want to portray myself as that, because, like, in some respects, I don't take woke as an insult. At the other respects, I don't want people devolving my whole conversation to just one shitty little criticism that they can just use and have a bias against. Therefore,
yeah, but on the other hand, if somebody does that, you can just be like, what are you, 12? And then you win the argument.
You know, that's very fair, actually.
Yeah, that's the thing. The old the adage, right, is that stupid people will bring you down to their level and beat you with experience, but I know their tactics, and I can make them feel like an asshole. So,
good on you.
A child. And yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I pulled up the culture aspects of NPR, right?
Yeah.
Who says white people don't have culture? NPR just released a list of 380 great 2025 reads.
Oh yeah. 380. Good God.
Actually, it's 380.
You can't narrow that down to 365. Come on, guys.
What? Read a book a year. Get into that CEO grind set.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, damn. These are actually pretty interesting looking books, too.
So that was one of the things that I was going to mention on the CEO books as business cards thing, is that there's a very similar racket that goes on behind the scenes for the New York Times bestseller accreditations, where it is extremely trivial to get that tag, where you just have to be in the industry or know people in the industry to know the timing of things, and then make sure that your book goes out at the right time, or that your book is included in certain lists of books that are bought by libraries. Because if that happens, you're basically a shoo-in as long as you time it right. Or you can just, cheat the system a bit and buy your own books. And by the time anybody figures out, it doesn't matter because you already got the little sticker that you wanted anyways. But bigger point to that was that label is basically meaningless right now, and that there is so much good stuff that is being made today and published today that doesn't have those sorts of renowned accreditations.
Okay, I'm going to say something a little controversial here, right? Fuck y'all if you disagree with me. We live in a pretty golden age of literature. I'm not saying by quality, but by mass volume and how well read, like, literacy rates, pretty good. I think that's kind of shit that some people have, like, very selective levels of literacy. But in terms of, like, actual catalog of who can get books out there, how books are published, how books are found, and how literature is found, impressive. We are miles away from the Dark Ages. We don't have to have fucking monastery Christian monks writing out our books for us. I can just open a PDF.
Very true. Yeah, I think there's a reasonable debate to be had there of, like, what reasonably qualifies for, in the case of the National Center for Education Statistics, they call it low literacy, not illiterate, anything like that. But I think there's a reasonable context to be put there as to how that term has changed over time.
Yeah, you're right.
For the curious, that rate is somewhere between 33 and 41% is technically low literacy in the US.
Huh. That's interesting, actually.
If you sort of convert that to a I was mistaken there. 33 to 41 million US adults. That's 17 to 21%. Apologies. It's about half of what I said before. Conventional illiteracy, though, seems to be only about 4% of that.
Huh. Sorry, those are numbers that are very hard for me to quantify in my fucking dumb donkey brain.
Yeah. I think the way that I would put it is that, like, scientifically described as low literacy includes 21% of Americans. So 21%. What I think most people probably imagine illiteracy, in this case, they describe that as below level 1. So it doesn't even meet the first tier of their testing criteria, is only 4%, which kind of, as like a gut thing, checks out in what I would expect.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay, after we just got done sucking off NPR, Stuff you should know in an armchair expert with Dax Shepard. Who the fuck is Dax Shepard?
Who is Dax Shepard? Is that spelled like it sounds? DAX?
Yeah.
You're never going to believe this. They're an American actor and comedian. He's from Michigan.
Yeah, one of us.
Without a paddle. Oh, Zathura. Yeah.
Yeah, he's that guy. He was like in every movie in the 2000s.
Weird.
Isn't it?
Well, good for him. I wouldn't trust him for life advice. No offense. But, like, really?
What's he do on his podcast? Like, what do they talk about?
Let's see. It's got a Wikipedia page. Weekly podcast interviewing celebrities, journalists, and academics about, quote, the messiness of being human. So, kind of nothing. Oh my god. Okay. I figured it out. Do you want to know who his wife... Let me actually double check. Is this what I'm thinking of?
Yeah, I see who his wife is.
Yeah, okay. Yes. It wasn't quite who I was thinking of. No, it was who I was thinking of. It is. It just looks different than how I remember. His wife's Kristen Bell.
Yeah.
Also from Michigan. Didn't know that.
I have to like him on that basis then. Fuck.
I mean, they I wouldn't say like. I'd give him a chance.
You know, that's right. Because if I have to like people on a Michigan basis alone, that means liking Kid Rock.
Exactly.
And I'll be damned if I let that human meth pipe earn my respect.
That's interesting. I guess it's just a Wikipedia being weird thing. They only go up to 2022. I was correct. It was the Golden Globes. The Golden Globes have a category for podcasts. Let me see if I can find this again. Because there's one of them that I haven't seen yet that I thought was going to be on here. Is it Smartless? Is that one of them? No, that one's not the one I'm thinking of. That one is on there. Which one is hers? Because that was like... First, I'm sure which word. Oh yeah, okay, there it is. Sorry, it's just formatted weird. Good Hang with Amy Poehler. It's not on there?
No.
Huh. Almost all of the other ones are. Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard, Call Her Daddy, Smartless, Up First. The only other one is the Mel Robbins podcast.
Okay, never heard that one.
Yeah, so Amy Poehler won the Golden Globe for Best Podcast of the last year. So I find it fascinating that hers is not on that list.
Apparently some Redditor did a study of over 30,700 podcasts. I hope we were in there. Here's what they found. Most podcasts follow a weekly release schedule. I wish we did. We're too busy.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Remember when we were weekly? Sorry, I had a little bit of a flashback. I still have the hearing loss in my right ear. Daily podcasts make up 30%, while fortnight releases account for 6%. Podcasters who release weekly or daily tend to be consistent, stick to their schedule 70% of the time over a long period of time. I'm curious what they define as a long period of time.
It would be too.
In the following table of genres, true crime was the number one, with 72% analyzed podcasts released weekly or with an average consistency of 70%. I wonder why. Let's see genres here based off... Is this just all of your release data? Nope. The average episode duration across all podcasts is 49 minutes. Weekly podcasts tend to be slightly longer at 52 minutes. Average daily podcasts for length are shorter at 43 minutes.
It's fascinating. Maybe I just got conditioned from when we started in radio, but I always feel like if I don't hit at least an hour, I'm doing something wrong.
Yo, same. Because, like, I think it's also from growing up with TV, when you have, like, formats in 30-minute blocks.
I actually just figured it out. You know what it is?
What?
We don't have ads.
Goddamn right we don't have ads. Who would fucking sponsor my fucking potty mouth? Damn, that's funny. That's actually kind of sad now that I think about it.
Isn't it? It's like the same way as just like of how the, you know, oh, why is the average half-hour television show only 19 minutes? Like, oh yeah. Capitalism has to take its cut of us all.
So by that metric, the average, the less time a podcast has, the more profitable it is.
That's probably true, but then you run into the question of like, is it still a podcast?
That's a good question. That's a really fucking good question.
Like if you just do 20-minute piece. So Hank Green, YouTube scientist guy, he makes education materials that get used by schools pretty regularly. He has like 3 different YouTube channels that he does with and without his brother, who, you know, they work in the same thing, and he puts out like 20 to 40 minute length, I don't want to call it episodes, but like pieces talking about random things, often bringing on a person to do an interview, sometimes going out to more than an hour because of those interviews, but it's not a podcast. There's some interesting semantics to be had here. I guess, is it a podcast if you self-identify it as a podcast when you upload it? Is that the only criteria that matters?
So I pulled up the dictionary, Oxford Dictionary definition, right?
Mm-hmm.
An audio recording featuring speech that may be downloaded or streamed on a computer or mobile device, generally available as a series to which people can subscribe, or as a verb to make an audio recording available as a podcast.
Yeah. See, this is why we need to unionize so that we can have a podcasting guild to dictate these kinds of things in order to ensure fair wages and labor practices.
You know how much advertisers would salivate at the prospect of a guild that they can work for more demographics and better ways of like being targeted ads?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've never thought about the knock-on effects of that, right? Because I think there's another element in there where if you're an advertiser working with a relatively, you know, organized or unionized field, that gives you a lot more confidence that, like, you know, like we've seen with Twitter, right, where your ad's not going to be put next to Nazi shit, to put it bluntly.
Well, okay, so there's like companies like iHeart, where iHeart Radio is more of a podcasting company at this point. So there's technically a body of work right there that kind of works as not necessarily as a union, because having worked for them, I know they hate the word union.
I'm sure they do.
Oh, yeah. But don't worry, iHeart. I kind of have a distaste for you, so I'll say you're a union. Can you believe iHeart is unionized? I'm so happy for them.
I'm glad for them. I would not have, but it's very good for them.
I love spreading fake news, and I hope the right person hears this podcast and tanks the stock because they heard union. Actually, time for my favorite game. Let's see how the iHeart stock is doing in all this.
Oh, I'm sure it's doing great.
Okay. Drum roll. Fibbity fuck. Why can't they just give you the information right away nowadays? $2.67. If we had a soundboard, this is the part where I have like kids cheering. Let me look at the chart. I want to find out what that is compared to like the day they laid my ass off. Oh, they're doing terrible now.
Are they?
Quite a bit, yeah. Would you care to guess? Because I still have the date that they laid me off. Would you care to guess if they were that day?
I genuinely no idea.
They were around $15. Now
I would not have guessed.
2.
Well, good for them, I suppose.
Who wants to go short iHeart with me?
How does that work? No, it goes the other way. You want it to be overvalued.
They are overvalued at $2 a share.
$2. Sure, fair enough, I guess.
Actually, I forgot. I'm technically on their streaming service with my music, so I guess I don't want the destruction quite yet. Oh, okay, this is insulting. So I'm on my iHeartMedia page, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's not too big of a stretch to think that they're owned by Taylor Swift at this point, right?
Sure, I think that's not unreasonable.
So I pull up the infamous Orion iHeartMedia page, and you know how they give you like little radio stations based off an artist?
No, but I can imagine. I'll say I've used iHeart technically, but not in a very long time.
Fair. We're kind of past the need for iHeart.
Yeah.
So if you look at my iHeart page and whatnot, my station has my favorite contemporaries on it: Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, and Bruno Mars.
I believe one of those.
Which?
Bruno Mars, of course.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think Bruno is...
To be clear, both Taylor Swift and Ariana are doing great. Good for them. But yeah. Just knowing your taste.
My opinions on Bruno Mars. I think he is really good when he has the right team. I've heard his shittier works, and let me tell you, that is a guy who needs just a good team behind him to get to his max potential.
The way that I would put it, Bruno Mars, pretty good.
Yeah.
Silk Sonic, excellent.
Yes. Put your fucking pinky finger to the moon. Was that Silk Sonic, or am I thinking of another Bruno song?
Honestly, no idea.
That's fair. 1 second. Let me look here. Oh no, it's Leave the Door Open. That's the one I was trying to think of. Fuck!
Yes. Oh no, so sorry. Silk Sonic, yes, but what was the other one I'm thinking of? So the name of his band is it Silk Sonic? Because Silk Sonic is him and Anderson .Paak, isn't it?
I think so. So he's got a couple bands.
Yeah, I was trying to remember his earlier one.
Yeah, it is Anderson .Paak. I just wanted to say. The Smezingtons apparently was a band by him.
Yeah, definitely not what I'm thinking of.
Then there's the Hooligans.
Doo-Wops and Hooligans? Maybe? I don't think so. Because it was never like an official name that it was performed on. It was always just Bruno Mars, but his band had a name. Huh. And that's what I'm trying to remember. Bruno. It was like part of their branding.
Bruno, I'm on your Wikipedia page right now, and I can see we have very similar taste. I fucking love Michael. I love Prince. I like Led Zeppelin and the Beatles. Come out to the show. We'll talk about it, dude. Just have your people come my people. I see some Jimi Hendrix and Amy Winehouse. Let's do it. Come tell us what the name of your band is.
Apparently, it is the Hooligans.
Huh.
I could have sworn they had a different name, but yeah, the Hooligans, the band that he performs with, apparently on his tours since about 2010, are world class.
Are they?
They're really good. If I remember a number of their live performances, like they did a Grammys and a Super Bowl, I'm pretty sure, are the big ones that I would have seen them at least one Grammys, probably more than one.
Holy
and
shit.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah, I can tell. They've all been, like, it's mainly been the same people all this time, and that's very fucking impressive.
Yeah, I was seeing that. Apparently since 2010, it's basically unchanged.
Yeah, like one or two people, one guy left, came back. That's unheard of. For a guy billed as a single artist, it should just be the Hooligans.
Right. And to their credit, they probably are doing a lot more of the heavy lifting than Bruno Mars is in the music.
Like you said, like we agreed on. He needs a good team. Get him on a good team, he's phenomenal.
So it's been an hour and we still haven't talked about the news.
Honestly, it's been a very fun hour. Has it been an hour? Holy fuck! Oh.
Let's rapid fire through some of this, because I think there is still some amusement to be had, at least to be found in some of this. Okay.
The Current Events podcast will do anything but talk about Iran.
Right. So getting through the really gross stuff, let's run through Iran in a way that the Trump administration wishes they could. I mean, I've been trying to figure this out. I've been pulling up tabs and closing stuff this whole time, trying to figure out, like, what's the framing to do here? And I think that there's a reality of that we don't actually know accurately what the situation on the ground in Iran and in their outlying countries is right now, because there has been so much lying, like very bold-faced lying about what's been happening. We've had many multiple times Trump, Hegseth, random people in Congress and his cabinet come out and say that this is a war, it's not a war, it's an excursion. Just flip-flopping back and forth and back and forth. And we've had Trump at least twice now say that the war is done. And then in the same Truth Social post continue on to say that actually it isn't done. You know, the recent one was a nation that has been totally decapitated. But also we need China, France, Japan, South Korea, the UK, and others to help us open up the Hormuz Strait, because we suck and we can't do that. And we apparently didn't have a plan for it. That was one of the big things that jumped out to me this week. There's a really good thread that Senator Chris Murphy put out on Blue Sky following some closed door Senate briefings, talking about how apparently, legitimately, the Pentagon, the Department of the Defense, Department of War, whatever the hell you want to call it, they had no plan for the Strait of Hormuz closing. They just assumed.
They didn't think it would happen.
They just assumed it wouldn't happen, and they didn't come up with a backup instead. And now that it's closed, they don't know how to get it open. They don't know what Iran's actual capabilities are at this point. We know that they have drones that are being deployed from somewhere, because Iran is still fairly regularly targeting their adversaries in the region, you know, Kuwait, Dubai, Saudi Arabia. There's pretty regular drone strikes on their oil depots, on their, you know, shared facilities that they have that the U.S. uses. I was reading just today, there was apparently a drone strike on a joint U.S.-Italian military base in Kuwait, I want to say. Okay. So like these things are happening, you know. We had a couple of boats try to go through the strait this week, and at least 3 of them were blown up. They're on fire. So there is at least a degree of force that Iran has shown they're capable of deploying in the strait that is legitimate. It's not all just smoke and mirrors. You know, they claim that they have drones and ships in the strait that they're using for these attacks, and those ships are not a conventional navy. It's like speedboats with guys with bombs on them. You know, they claim that they have mines in the strait that our current administration is saying isn't true, but who the hell wants to actually figure out that, you know, no one wants to be the first one to figure out that that's wrong, right? Yeah. There actually are mines, and that their ship is now a pile of slag at the bottom of the strait. So it's very hard to figure out what the hell is the actual situation. And then on top of that, there's just been very obvious outright lies, right? And we're used to this administration lying in a way that is probably not healthy. You know, they had their big Midnight Hammer show of force over the summer where they claimed they totally decimated Iran's nuclear capabilities. And now, 6 months later, oh, actually, we need to do this because Iran is an unacceptable threat to the world. That's according to UN Ambassador Mike Waltz just today. We had, not Hegseth, Besant, I want to say, going on Fox News saying that Iran was on the verge of having 30 to 40 nukes, which is the kind of thing that's just so obviously a lie. They're not even trying at this point to say anything that makes sense.
Can I bring up something that I find kind of funny? Yeah. Where would Iran get the money for a large-scale nuclear program like that?
It's the kind of thing where, yeah, there's a bit of an irony to it, right? Because making a nuclear weapon is really hard.
Yeah.
At the same time, the hard part isn't necessarily a money thing. It's a complexity and a time thing. It does take time to make the manufacturing centers that one requires to enrich uranium, because that's the basic part of it. That's hard. It's hard to get the radioactive material in a form that's actually useful. But the other side of this is that it is not so hard that if the US did say, okay, we're done, and they just leave tomorrow, Iran's going to try and make a nuke again. Obviously they are, because every power that is against them has so clearly demonstrated that that is the thing that they're terrified of them getting. So of course they're going to try and do it again. And without some sort of agreement like what Obama negotiated that gives unprecedented access and oversight to the nation of Iran, and specifically their nuclear sites, they're just going to do it in the dark. And we're going to be left not knowing. It's a really stupid situation that Trump has found himself in. One that is entirely predictable. And yet they failed to even consider it. One of the other, I think, really important comparisons that I've seen made over these last couple weeks has been the difference in how the aftermath of 9/11 was handled, where we had a good 2 years after 9/11 of building up the narrative of the weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist. But there was a building of a narrative. There were people going to Congress, to the Senate, giving speeches, presenting what they claimed was evidence to justify a large-scale invasion, a large-scale military action against these supposed weapons. But that's been completely absent here. And in part because of that, this has resulted in this Iran war being one of, if not the least popular military action in history. Nobody is in favor of this, more or less speaking. It's like a minus 50 issue right now. They've got barely a 25% in favor of the current ongoing actions. People aren't in favor of it because they don't know what the hell's going on. And then when they get asked about it, they give these weird answers of like, oh, no, it's not a war. We're not here for regime change. We're not here to occupy the country. We're not here to take care of the nuclear weapons because we already did that, 6 months ago. And then we're left with the obvious question of what the hell are we doing then? And there's not an answer because they haven't thought any of this through. And in the meantime, the one indicator of the economy that nobody can ignore, even the least online of us, are gas prices. And gas prices are undeniably up and seeming like they're going to remain up. If I had to hazard a guess, at least through the end of May.
Whoa, wait.
Probably well into the summer.
Yay, gas prices up. It's that one thing everybody loves to bitch about. Woohoo. Yeah.
The question at this point isn't going to be, are gas prices up? It's going to be how much? Are they going to stay at the rate that they are right now? Or are they going to go up more from here? And I'm kind of inclined to say that they're going to go up from here because there just is no plan right now.
There's no plan.
The thing that really solidified it for me was that there was an announcement this week between the U.S. Oil reserves. I don't remember what particular government agency it is that controls that, but between the U.S. Representatives, the European representatives, and one of the Saudi oil groups, not Saudi, Middle Eastern, broadly, Middle Eastern oil reserve groups, that said they're going to be releasing some 400 million barrels of oil from their reserves onto the market to help, cushion the blow that markets have been feeling right now from this shortage. And that equated to something like 2 days worth of the global supply. And the stock market, the ticker prices barely flinched. They didn't go up, but they sure as hell didn't go down on the wake of that news. And I've been thinking about that, and it has me wondering if a part of that is because that so clearly signals how these regulatory figures are forced to acknowledge now that this isn't going to be a quick thing. Because if it was a quick thing, they're not going to release their reserves. The strait's going to be open again soon. If it's not going to be a quick thing, though, if they have to go to these measures to soften the blows on the market, counterintuitively, it's not a good sign for the direction that prices are going to go.
Yeah.
So I feel like beyond that, I don't really have much to say on the specifics of it. It's not like when, we were talking about the situation in Ukraine, right? We covered that pretty extensively when that was happening. And you could point to like, oh, here's the thing that happened today. Here's where it is. Here's what happened. Here's the outcomes of this. Here's where it looks like it's going to go next. It's so much less clear than that. And I guess a large part of that is because there's no ground offensive, right? You don't have a front line of pushing in one direction or pushing back in the other direction. It's just relatively indiscriminate bombing of these large civilian centers like Tehran.
Yeah. Welcome. I don't know. The crazy part is that the administration is acting like there is a band-aid solution to this.
Yeah.
When it's more like this is a situation that needs stitches. Even then, stitches
it's the kind of thing that I don't know if there even is. Like, it's gotten to the point now where I fear that the only way to, quote, fix this is the kind of large-scale ground invasion that's being, postured about right now. Apparently, there are thousands of Marines stationed in Japan, Okinawa, that left. They're going somewhere. There's been talks of Marines from other bases that are being deployed, steak and lobster dinners all around kind of shit, right? And there's this very open question of like, okay, what's going to happen next then, if that's the case? Part of the thread in Murphy's discussions after the Senate meetings they had was talking about how big the scale of the Hormuz Strait is that really gets lost, where there are, up to hundreds of tankers that go through the strait every day in both directions. Are you going to attach a U.S. Navy ship to each of them to escort them? We don't have enough. That would take our whole Navy to do that. which is why, we see Trump so desperately begging for other countries to send ships over so that they can try something like that. But then if we can't find where these Iranian sea mines are that they claim to have put in the strait, who's going to be the first one to figure that out? We decommissioned our minesweeping ships because we have great people in charge that know what they're doing. The same way that the FBI decommissioned their Iranian intelligence task force just days before the invasion. It's very hard to say, but it is difficult to see an improvement in the near term, at the very least.
We've entered a war where there's only losers.
Yeah, very much. The last thing that I wanted to mention on it is that in a much more rah-rah America way, we are starting to see the real consequences of large-scale military conflict, and that is Americans in the military dying. There's been at least 8 people killed directly as a result of Iranian attacks on military bases, from what I understand. We had another 6 U.S. Air Force airmen killed over Iraq due to a refueling incident that took out, there was a mid-air collision between 2 refueling planes. Just a completely pointless thing. This accident would have never been in the position to happen if we hadn't been in the region. And now 6 people are dead because of it, which pales in comparison to the thousands of people in Iran who are just people trying to go about their lives. Fucking school children getting blown up, right? There's very real consequences from this outside of the economics that we haven't even begun to reckon with because it's so abstract still. Last piece that I want to mention on it is that Department of Defense Hegseth remains a gigantic piece of shit. He gave a number of speeches these last couple of weeks that I think I most accurately saw described as being written by an AI, very obviously, because all of them are so full of the most vapid and empty of platitudes and cliches that you can imagine. But the one that was really making headlines was a couple of days ago. Hegseth specifically said that our soldiers would be giving no mercy and no quarter to the people, to the people of Iran, to the military of Iran. And it is worth noting that even in all of the atrocities that are perpetuated day in and day out, that is a very specific thing for him to claim. And not only is it a specific thing to claim, it is a thing that is specifically a war crime under international law. And again, it's the kind of thing that really highlights how dumb and unprepared they all are. You don't give quarter to surrendering militaries out of the goodness of your heart, though you probably fucking should because they're still people. You do it so that when your people get caught, they don't get executed on sight either. And that they can't conceptualize such a very basic tenet of all military activity, basically as far as history has been concerned. You know, it goes back to like the Sun Tzu thing, right? It's all very obvious stuff. And a lot of the obvious stuff are things that we've largely learned right now, like make sure that your people are fed. And they're failing those most basic of checks at this point. And it's just embarrassing.
That's because they're not leaders. They're very basic people who just want a paycheck at the end of the day at this rate.
Yep.
I don't think they're really here for policy anymore. I think they're just there to try and soak up the money. Because after what happened to Kristi Noem, Donnie might be in a fiery mood.
That was where I was going to go next, was Noem. I'm not even sure about the money part of it, though. It's just... I don't know. But Noem is out. This is the start of the good news stuff, or at least the amusing news stuff. It's not all necessarily good. Noem is out. Mark Wayne Mullen, Republican senator from Oklahoma, is being tapped to take over that position as head of DHS. Is there much to say? Good riddance. Stephen Miller next, please.
We all know.
Mark Wayne, I'm sure, is going to be just as big of a piece of shit. It's not like this is an improvement. It's just a different person. Here's a question that I'm going to try and answer right now. See if there's a Wikipedia page for this. That would be really convenient. Hey, of course there is. Oh, no, it's not. It just links to a bunch of other ones. I was curious to see if there was a list of all of the people who had been fired by the Trump administration.
That's like asking a lot for Doge, like specifically.
I know. Obviously, it doesn't excuse Noam's actions. She is a very large piece of shit. I think it is fascinating that, as far as I can remember, like, she's one of the only people who has been actually fired by the administration in, Trump 2. I can't think of another one.
No, you're right. There hasn't been any high-profile ones, at least.
Like, we've had people leave, We had Elon in whatever shitty role he was a part of, voluntarily left. We talked about Bongino earlier. He's gone, but he did it on his own terms. It is, I do think it is worth noting that the only person that the Trump administration has fired hasn't been because of their conduct. It's because it's a woman trying to make a name for themselves. That was the whole reason why she ended up actually getting fired, was it came out that she was shuttling, I don't remember if it's tens or hundreds, but significant millions of dollars of money to DHS advertising campaigns that were really more accurately described as Kristi Noem campaigns. They were publicizing her over the administration. Yeah. And once it came out that that was true, that was what the goal of those were, and that Noam tried to claim that Trump approved that, she was very quickly fired.
Like, one, good, but also kind of fucking wild. That's what it took. Yeah.
It's so petty. To be clear as well, she's not actually fired. She's been moved to envoy for the Shield of the Americas, whatever the fuck that is. It's a made-up job. She's been put in timeout, basically.
Like, I can't really afford to actually fire her because it's going to make him look bad. Especially what happened with, ICE in Minneapolis, I mean.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I was going to bring up about Noam is that part of the Senate hearings that we've had, both before and after she was fired, which is very funny, there was questions that were very astutely raised talking about how there was a $143 million U.S. contract that was awarded to one of her friend's businesses that does not have a headquarters or a website.
No.
And that other people were not allowed to bid on.
No.
Just $143 million gone.
Fuck you, Kristi.
Very true. Very accurate. However, again, it's not like this is news for this administration. They've been doing this shit since day one.
I mean, that's kind of why I'm laughing through it, because it's so transparently stupid evil.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's funny trying to, I don't know, funny is not quite the word, amusing. I am personally amused seeing the other people within her supposed side of this trying to chastise her for these kinds of things when the guy above them is doing it so much worse, literally every day. It's
waggling their fingers at her.
It's all very dumb.
I think, like, hear me out, right?
Yep.
There's going to be a day, and it's probably sooner rather than later at this point, where one of these fucks are going to be left behind when everybody rolls out, and they're going to be the whipping boy / woman if it's Christy, you know?
Yep. Totally agree. Oh, excuse
Someone
me.
is going
Totally
to be
agree.
holding the goddamn bag at the end of all this.
Absolutely. One last point that I wanted to talk about on the current administration is completely unprepared and doesn't know what the hell they're doing front is that as of today, at least, DHS funding is still shut down by the government. Like that's still a thing that's still happening, and it's just not even a news story. That's just like the new status quo is that the DHS no longer is getting funding from the government. But through that, we also now have it was first mandated by Trump, and now it's starting to get trickled down through the ranks. And Republicans are saying that they're not going to pass any legislation until the Save America Act gets voted on, which is
8 more months.
very funny, in part because Democrats are already taking the stance of we're not going to vote on anything as long as there's still this Iran shit happening, which seems like a pretty reasonable stance, all considered.
Yeah. Can we talk about a smaller side story to all this?
Sure.
We talked about this throughout the week, but I want to bring it up on the show as well, about the shitty, manipulative journalism originating from gambling sites, propagating on social media to try and rig, what's the word I'm looking for? Odds on their actual gambling sites.
Yep. I have definitely noticed. I hate it so much.
For my own safety, I have to be ambivalent about it.
Yep. Like, here's a way I've just thought about it, right? Imagine if DraftKings was going out and posting sensationalized headlines linking to literally nothing with no evidence supporting them, talking about athletes that they suspect are injured.
Yeah. That's entirely what it is, though, too.
Yeah. It's that, but Polymarket is doing it with world economic and geopolitical events with the Iran war.
Yeah. Why not? You know, if people are going to die, you might as well make $20 off it.
There's definitely an element to that, too, that I find kind of bleak, seeing how cheap so many people's prices are. I don't know if you've ever seen some of the amounts of money that particular like sports betting cases ended up being about.
No, I actually have not seen. I try to keep away from sports betting for the life of me. I'm not going to get into that shit show.
Let's see if I can find this real quick. There was a particular NBA one last year that was over just a no, this isn't the one I'm thinking of. You get these people who are making millions of dollars just to play the sport, right?
Yeah.
And they throw it away for $10,000 in gambling. There was I don't even call it influencer streamer person that I was watching a video about from CoffeeZilla, who does these like extreme things, going to crazy places, met the Taliban or some shit one time. And there was a bunch of controversy because he was in Saudi Arabia trying to do like a 40-day fast. And there was a bunch of bets out on like, is he gonna make it or not? And on like day 30, he got found by the Saudi Arabian government and arrested for illegally doing whatever it was he was doing in their country, which of course meant that he didn't make it to the end of his fast. He did not hit 40 days. And an account associated with him had a bet on this thing that was able to be traced back to his accounts that ended up having him make $60,000 over.
Hell yeah.
It's just like, why? What are you doing? You're making millions of dollars a year. What do you care about 60 grand? Why are you throwing away? Like, you're clearly already kind of a piece of shit. But why are you throwing away any chances to make money in the future? Even if you are going to take that really ends justify the means perspective, you're just shooting yourself in the foot for nothing.
Of course. Which would you rather have, Carol? $10 million tomorrow or $10 today?
Sorry, you're breaking up for me a bit there. What was that?
Which would you rather have? $10 million tomorrow or $10 today?
Like forever?
No, just one-time drops.
I mean, I'd probably take the $10 million.
That's why you're wrong. Time is money.
Like,
you never know what inflation's going to do to that. You're wrong, Carol.
$10 a day over 40 years is only $146,000. So,
Carol. Gotta be hustling. Gotta be bustling.
good luck with that.
It's so hard to troll. Fuck.
See, the thing is, I will say this pretty confidently. You're never going to get me with something like that, because the first thing that I did when you said that was I pulled up a calculator.
Fuck you.
That's just how I did. This is how I work.
That's fair. How dare you? In a future where everything's a calculator, don't use calculators.
That's chapter 3 in all those CEO books.
You see, because everybody has a calculator, you're on the same platform as everybody else. To stand out, don't use calculators.
Just be confidently wrong.
Just be confidently wrong and white. Preferably male.
Usually helps.
Usually does help.
Last thing that I wanted to mention before we get into some movies is the ongoing shoe thing in the Oval Office.
Before we go to that real quick, I just realized something.
Yeah.
We just did those podcasts a little bit ago, right?
Yeah.
How many of those were run by confident white guys?
I think literally all but 2.
Yeah, I think so too. That's what just came to my head.
I know for a fact all of the ones of all of the ones that were nominated for this Golden Globe, only one that was nominated and on that list was not one or more white guys.
That's so funny. Okay, the shoe situation.
Yeah, the shoe situation. So you just have to bear with me a bit, because this is all, as is the theme, very, very dumb. It seems, as far as people can tell, that Trump really likes a particular brand of dress shoes. Wears them all the time. This particular brand recommends them to everybody, I guess. Apparently, Trump asked for the shoe sizes of everyone in his cabinet and then went and bought them dress shoes based on those sizes for them to wear. So far, so good. Nothing too crazy. Except, you have to remember that all of the people in Trump's cabinets are, you know, your Hegseths, your Millers, your Marco Rubios, right? And as it seems, basically all of them lied about their actual shoe size. So now...
Why ever would guys lie about their shoe size?
I can't think of a reason.
Why would you tell your boss you have a bigger shoe size than you actually have?
Yeah, It's the kind of thing where it's because like the obvious answer, right, is that they're all deeply insecure and vain and don't want to be seen as having small feet, especially to Trump, who had the whole small hands thing.
You know what they say about guys with big feet?
Bigger shoes.
I was going to say big socks.
Big socks? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Go on, though. Yeah. Like,
so, yeah. Trump wants to buy all the boys the same matching shoes. Everybody seemingly lies about their shoe size to seem like they have big feet, I guess. They get these shoes back from Trump. None of them fit well. And they're not particularly good looking shoes in the first place, let's be real. Yeah. So now they're all wearing these extremely ill-fitting shoes in the White House, walking around and they just look like absolute clowns.
Children in their parents' clothes.
The other thing that is notable as well, there's a really, I think it's really funny, this picture of Rubio and Vance's feet from the other day. And not only do their shoes pretty obviously not fit well, their pants also obviously don't fit well either. It's, you can't make this stuff up. It is beyond parody at this point.
Okay, I can like dick speak, right? I understand.
Yeah, right.
Whining about your shoe size. I don't do it myself. I'm a proud 9.5. Fuck you. But why would you wear pants that don't fit?
It's because they don't have taste and they buy garbage off the rack because that's what they've always done.
No, they want to show off those slutty little ankles that they got.
Do you know what I found, actually? I went and got, because I patting myself on the back here, I've lost a lot of weight the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of clothes that don't fit me that I would like to wear still. And I've been hesitant to go and get them tailored because I have this idea of like, it's going to be expensive and I have to go there and it's going to be a hassle. I don't want to deal with it. I finally bit the bullet and did it, and it was shockingly cheap. Like,
it's cheap?
Yeah, I had a jacket resized, like an actual like trench coat jacket, and it was $35.
Fuck you, no way. That's cheaper than getting a new one.
Exactly. That was always my thing. It was just like, I could just buy new ones, and then I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to have the hassle of driving over there and back again. And no, it's just like way cheaper to get these things that fit, and they fit better than they ever would have off the rack because they've actually been tailored, right?
Yeah.
It's wild.
So for those who don't know,
yeah.
I've got a little story to share as well about that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
I've been fasting, and I find that I've been losing weight a lot faster because of the fasting, right?
Mm-hmm.
In such a way now that I don't have pajamas that fit me anymore.
Hell yeah.
So I'm going to have to get resized pajamas, which I think is kind of a funny concept.
Mm-hmm. It's worth it. As long as you're like buying pajamas that are worth more than like $20, it's worth it.
Movies.
With that,
everywhere.
Movies. Oh, wait, sorry. Okay. Yeah. Bit of breaking news here. Disappointing news. Have you seen any of the Firefly talk lately?
Yes, and I know exactly what you're about to say, and I'm sorry for what you're about to go through.
So yeah, there's been talk lately about the possibility of Firefly coming back in some capacity. In particular, this is coming on the wings of Whedon having a major falling out with basically the entirety of polite society after it was very clearly demonstrated that he has a quite prolific history of sexually assaulting, sexually harassing people who he works with.
Yep.
Reading now that apparently what has been proposed and what started the rumors is that Nathan Fillion is trying to pitch an animated Firefly series. Unfortunately,
I was about to say,
while he had the foresight to make it clear that Whedon isn't involved, they still have Adam Baldwin involved.
yeah.
Adam Baldwin, I had to find this out kind of like in a roundabout way, because I'll be honest, when Gamergate happened, I wasn't really in circles that paid super close attention to that kind of stuff. I knew it was a thing that was happening, but it wasn't until towards the end of it that I really understood what was happening through those events. But as it happens, Adam Baldwin, who acted as one of the main characters in the Firefly show, was basically the progenitor of the entire thing and literally was the one who named it Gamergate.
Wait, he's literally the one that called it Gamergate?
He is the guy who did that, yes.
That is an insane level of influence.
Yeah. He named it Gamergate. He was one of the first big named, like, serious people with a career who picked it up and gave it any sort of prominence beyond it being just the, like, shitty incel 4chan stuff that it was up to that point. His involvement with any kind of project like this is an immediate non-starter. And to be frank, he's not that good of an actor anyways, and his character is, by the standards of Firefly, pretty remarkably outdated to current taste and kind of gross in hindsight. So I'd be happy to see him gone, and I don't think I could tolerate watching an animated Firefly show if it still had him involved.
You know, I've actually never seen Firefly.
It's really annoying how good it is. It's really frustrating.
Let's see here.
Very much, cult sci-fi that's gotten pretty popular as a result of that as time has gone on. But man, it kind of reminds me a bit. I was seeing some talk about the Uncharted movie as well this week, and it kind of hits me in the same way, where it's just like the things that would need to happen to make this at all palatable for me in the current year, with everything that's happened since these discussions started, is just impossible at this point. And that's a damn shame.
This is going back to Josh Whedon. It kind of amazes me. He's got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 paragraphs about how he's a dick on his fucking Wikipedia. Huh.
Yeah, it was super disappointing hearing about all the information as it came out. And I think especially hearing about how long it had been going on for, where there's really strongly credible evidence going back to his time on fucking Buffy.
Yeah.
And man, what a shame. Undeniably, it's like art in the artist thing, right? Undeniably very talented.
Yeah.
Buffy is iconic. Firefly is a cult classic. Didn't he do the first Avengers movie?
Yes. He was
like the Avengers.
They brought him on to fix Justice League because he was such a surefire thing.
Isn't it fascinating that is what caused the turn? that he was brought in and turned it into such an unmitigated disaster that he couldn't withhold himself for just long enough to not be shitty to the wrong people that caused all of this to blow up.
I'm sorry, Josh Whedon fucking worked on Toy Story, I just found out. This fucker worked on Toy Story.
Mm-hmm. It's a damn shame.
Why do you have this ability, you fucker?
Yeah. It's I do wonder how we as a society, as a culture, are going to reckon with that, because so far we've had a lot of the separating the art and the artist thing, looking back to things that were happening decades ago, generations prior, right? Like, is it okay to celebrate the works of a guy who died 40 years ago when he was still a racist, misogynist piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
That question gets a lot harder when that guy's still alive.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've quite reckoned with that socially, especially when you don't have to go that far back in time to find extremely well documented stuff like this.
I do think it is a case of time kind of heals all wounds. Because, we can look at, a lot of, people we call the quote-unquote masters. I'm maybe looking at Beethoven. I know Beethoven wasn't a great dude, but, he's, very well remembered for a reason, even though he was kind of an incel. It is one of those things where I think just, it is a matter of time. And, see what time does to these people.
Which one was it? One of the ones that I go back to a lot is the big band and how rampant spousal abuse was amongst so many of them.
Miles Davis, I fucking love his music. I think he's actually a very visionary musician. Terrible person.
Yeah. By all accounts, Frank Sinatra, kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to reckon with.
It is hard to reckon with. There is a point where they kind of get mythologized and they're no longer a person anymore because they're dead. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where time comes in. But it's still crazy to me.
I do think that there's a reasonable sort of cutoff when the person is dead, where there is at that point at least one degree of separation between that individual or their estate getting financial benefit from your indulging in their art and yourself. So I do think that makes it makes it a lot easier to rationalize. But yeah, it's a big question.
Yeah. And I think it is one of those cases where it's easier for some people than others. I think if you're someone who can deeply sympathize with the victims, it's hard. If you're someone who's been through what they've gone through, it's even harder. There's just no easy answer to any of that. But if you just look at stuff, you don't even think critically about it, it's super easy. Fuck you.
Well, would you like to talk some movies? Got a couple.
Oh, there's a couple? I love a couple of movies.
Run through them real quick, because I think we actually have a little bit we can go through here once we get into it. Two main releases for this weekend seem to be Undertone. Paranormal podcast host becomes haunted by terrifying recordings mysteriously sent her way. Sitting at 76% from critics, 52% from audiences. Not a whole lot to say beyond that. Some interesting imagery that they have with it. It's a sort of amusing and very 21st century concept for a horror movie. So that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Next one, Reminders of Him. I'm going to skip through all of the self-aggrandizing. After a perfect outing with her boyfriend, Kenna makes an unbearable mistake that sends her to prison. 7 years later, Kenna returns to her hometown in Wyoming, hoping to rebuild her life and earn the chance to reunite with her young daughter, Diem, who she has never known. When Diem's custodial grandparents adamantly refuse Kenna's attempt to see her daughter, Kenna discovers unexpected compassion and then something truer and deeper with former NFL player and local bar owner Ledger. As their secret romance develops, so do the dangers for both of them, leading Kenna toward heartbreak and ultimately the hope for a second chance. 56% from critics, 90% from audiences. Notably, this seems to be based on a relatively popular book by author Colleen Hoover, who is one who I know of. So I'm thinking the audience scores might be a little bit juiced because of that.
1000%.
With that, before we get to the last release, I wanted to mention, just for a quick aside here, I have finally seen Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. Welcome to the other side. It is quite worth it.
Very, very good movie.
Yeah, isn't it?
You can definitely see why it won all of the awards that it did. It was very, very much deserved for just incredible performances throughout the whole thing. I think I mentioned when we were chatting about it how I wasn't expecting the cinematography to be as good as it was. Like, I kind of knew that it was going to be good, right? Because it won a shitload of awards. But even knowing that, it still exceeded my expectations.
I remember, I told you this, so I was going to tell this story again. I went to go see it in theaters. Lucky me. When it first came out. It was like me and like 3 other people plus my buddy. And I turned to him afterwards and like, that was a really good movie. It's a shame it's not the kind of movie that gets popular.
Yeah, it is interesting because financially, huge success.
Yeah. No, I was immediately wrong on that.
Tiny budget. $143 million grossed on a up to $25 million budget. Yeah. I didn't realize it. Apparently it's an A24 movie. Makes a lot of sense in hindsight.
Yeah, that's purely what my buddy wanted to go see. It's an A24 horror.
Yeah. With that, last release we have from last week is Hoppers.
Hey.
What if you could talk to animals and understand what they're saying? Disney Pixar's new feature film Hoppers. Scientists have discovered how to hop human consciousness into lifelike robotic animals, allowing people to communicate with animals as animals. The adventure introduces Mabel, an animal lover who seizes the opportunity to use the technology, uncovering mysteries within the animal world that are beyond anything she could have imagined. I would like to say, before we get into anything else, this is a ripoff of so much of the work that the furry community has developed for decades now, and I hope some of them are involved with this and getting paid very well for that.
You know, I didn't think about that because, like, when I saw it in theaters, the first thing that came to my mind was fucking Avatar, which, to their credit, they do bring up. I don't know. I didn't really get the furry animals, so I can kind of get it now. You know, we can bring it down.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because like all the budget and like marketing bullshit for this goes to sell it in like the most bare bones way. This is more like a sci-fi movie, and then it turns into a horror movie at the end, which is kind of fucking wild.
I can see that.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of body horror the very end of it. Because they do that classic, like, sci-fi concept where you write a story about the invention of a car, but the story itself takes place during a traffic stop, and you write the story around that. That's kind of what Hoppers does. So, you write the story about being able to turn, disguise yourself among animals. And then the story itself is, well, what if animals disguise themselves as human back? It was very good. Very good movie. It was one of those things that if you forgot how to be ending coming a mile away. It's very funny. Very funny movie. I highly recommend it. It's so hard to give my shit on this, but at the same time, I feel like I have to fight the marketing to convince you all it's a good movie, very worth your time.
Definitely seems interesting.
It's by the guy that did the Bear Bears. So it's something like that. That's some chunky shit. It's good. Very good. I say that's because Bear Bears fans.
Yeah. Seems like it's doing well. Also, obviously, it's it's Pixar, so there's always going to be a floor to that. But 93% from critics, 94% from audiences, so very solid numbers there. And
my fiance and I went to go see it on the last minute, just fuck, what else are we going to do on a weekend like this? And we only got the last 2 seats. Our theater was fucking packed.
Yeah, Pixar movies will do that.
Pixar movies will do that.
With that, though, that's all that I've got.
That's all I got as well. So to all of you out there, I'm Mr. Ryan, and I've been a Schmo.
And I'm Kyril. And I'm also a Schmo.
And this has been the Two Schmoes Show.